Bonjour my petite chiffre, Amber here, and let's talk about some of my most anticipated releases of 2026. I say some because I'm filming this in February. So not only have some of these books already come out, but as the months have gone on, I've been made aware of even more new releases coming out this year. I've been jotting them down in my additional releases list in my reading journal as I've become aware of them. There's no way in the world I'm going to go over this list because it has gotten kind of hefty and will continue to throughout the year. However, today I do want to sit down and talk about my initial list, the list I had acquired throughout 2025 and had kept track of through 2025, the list that I put in my anticipated releases spread and tracker in my reading journal. And like I said, there are, I just counted these 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. There are 29 books here. I don't want to talk too long. Like I said, it's February, so some of these books have already been released. I'm going to talk about them in chronological order of their release date. So the first maybe 6 or so have already been released. God, I love chai. Anyway, bear with me if at some point you hear hissing and wheezing. My laptop is right here below the computer. So first and foremost, we have Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy, which came out on January 20th. In fact, I was in the bookstore, not last night, the night before last, and I saw this book. I saw a lot of these books in the bookstore the other night, and I contemplated getting it then, but it was like $30, and like book prices these days, it's absurd, it's disgusting, it's truly infuriating, especially because the size of that book. I want you to be for real. I want you to be for real. Whatever publishing house put this book out, I want you to be for real. Jeanette, even though I'm sure she doesn't have much, I don't know how that works, but I don't think she chooses the price of the book. I don't think that's how that works, but my God, like the book was possibly like as thick as this, if not a little thinner. If you've read her first book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, it's about the same size as that book. Absurd. But this is Jeanette's fictional debut. This is a contemporary literary fiction. It's in the vein of My Dark Vanessa, where it is about a young girl who I believe is being groomed by her teacher or professor or someone in a higher power, and is a very grown adult. It says, from #1 New York Times bestselling author of I'm Glad My Mom Died comes a sad, funny, thrilling novel about sex, consumerism, class, desire, loneliness, the internet, rage, intimacy, power, and the oftentimes misguided lengths we'll go in order to get what we want. Waldo is ravenous. I know, why? Okay. Waldo is ravenous, horny, blunt, naive, wise, impulsive, lonely, angry, forceful, hurting, perceptive, endlessly wanting, and the thing she wants most of all, Mr. Corgi, her creative writing teacher, with the wife and the kid and the mortgage and the bills, with the dead-end dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. Why do they always want the ugly men? What is going on here? I mean, you shouldn't want any. I mean, it's not odd for a young girl to have a crush on her teacher, but like, girls. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion, his life experience, the fact that he knows books and films and things that she doesn't? Or is it purer than that? Rooted in their unlikely connection, their kindred spirits, the similar filter with which they each take in the world around them. Or perhaps it's just enough that he sees her when no one else does. startlingly perceptive, mordantly funny, and keenly poignant. Half His Age is a rich character study of a yearning 17-year-old who disregards all obstacles or attempts to overcome them in her effort to be seen, to be desired, to be loved. I said that it's in the vein of My Dark Vanessa, if you're familiar with that book, and honestly I'm hoping that I'm right. That book is not funny in any sort of way. It's one, ooh, sorry, I read that last year. It's one of the first books I read it's an early book I read last year, and it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever read. And I left that book thinking maybe I put it off for so long my spirit was protecting me. We'll see. I mean obviously it's not romanticizing. I couldn't imagine Jeanette and the things she's been through romanticizing anything like that, grooming and pedophilia. And anyway, that came out January 20th. Another book that came out on January 20th is A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James, who is the author of Sundown Motel. Is that what the book's called? I think that's the one I read. There are several Simone St. James books out now, and I keep saying I'm gonna get to them. Anyway, she always writes sort of like paranormal mystery thrillers, definitely more thriller leaning than horror, but there's always a paranormal element. The Sundown Motel, I think that's the one I read. I really enjoyed that. It was a really I don't really read thrillers very much, but that was, I think the paranormal element is really what really captivated me. Siblings return to the house they fled 18 years before, called back by the ghost of their long missing brother and his haunting request to come home. Okay. Strange things happen in Fell, New York. A mysterious drowning at the town's roadside motel. The unexplained, is it the Sundown Motel? Are we tying stories together? The unexplained death of a young girl whose body is left by the railroad tracks. For Violet, Vale, and Dodie Esme, the final straw was their little brother's shocking disappearance, which started as a normal game of hide and seek. As their parents grew increasingly distant, the sisters were each haunted by visions and frightening events, leading them to leave town and never look back. Violet still sees dead, okay, whatever, haunted house type vibe, being haunted by their dead little brother. I'm intrigued. It's not like the highest on my list, but I am determined to read another Simone St. James before 2027. I have been saying that I'm going to get around to the Book of Cold Cases for so long, and I just haven't. I have it. Yet another book that released on January 20th is The Poet Empress by Shin Tao. I am obsessed with this cover. In fact, I saw this book in the bookstore the other day. I picked it up because what you can't see is that the cover is like coated in like a very fine glitter. So it's so shimmery. It looks like Tinkerbell threw up on it, and I love it. And I picked it up, I was looking at it, and I couldn't remember that. Like I kept saying, I don't know what this is about. I don't care what it's about. I want it just for the shelf, just to have it. Only to set up to do this video and be like, oh, I was aware that it existed. I have put it on my anticipated. Okay. This is a debut by author Shin Tao that introduces readers to the lush, deadly world of the Poet Empress, a sweeping epic, an intimate fantasy, perfect for fans of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, The Song of Achilles, and She Who Became the Sun. I am a fan of The Song of Achilles, and I anticipate that I'm going to be a fan of She Who Became the Sun. That is on my TBR for the year. It is a priority read for the year. So this is like a historical fiction, historical romantasy. I've mentioned it before. I am so put off. I don't know what it is, but I hear romantasy as a descriptor, and I'm just like, actually, I'm set. I'm good. I don't know what it is. I love romances with a strong romance. I love fantasy books with a strong romance involved. I write them, but once once it's like the focus and like that's all the story, that's the I don't know. I want my fantasy to be fantasy with romance. I'm not explaining it right, but maybe that'll change. Maybe, who knows, maybe you're gonna get a video where of me just like testing like straightforward romanticities. Maybe it's something I've thought about, that let's just like rip this band-aid off. Stop, like it's like a exposure therapy. In the waning years of the Azalea dynasty, the emperor is dying, the land consumed by famine and poetry magic. I think that's what got me intrigued. Lost to all except the powerful. Wei Yin is desperate. After the 5th death of a sibling, with her family and village on the brink of starvation, she will do anything to save those she loves. Even offer herself as concubine to the cruel heir of the beautiful and brutal Azalea house. But in a twist of fate, the palace stands on the knife edge of civil war, with Wei trapped in its center at the side of a violent prince. To survive, Wei must harden her heart, rely on her wit, and become dangerous herself, even if it means becoming a poet in a world where women are forbidden to read. Ooh, well, I'm dead. And composing the most powerful spell of all, a ballad of death and love, of songbirds and snakes, sorry. Sorry. And yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the concept of poetry magic. I am assuming this is going to be like an enemies to lovers type vibe. The concubine aspect kind of reminds me of Girls of Paper and Fire, which I loved the first one. We don't talk about the second one, and I never finished the trilogy. I'm so sorry. But yes, like I said, this came out January 20th as well. The next book came out on January 27th, and it's a romance, a contemporary romance, and it's The Redo List by Denise Williams. In fact, I had this in my hand. I was going to get it yesterday, the other day, but I chose, what did I choose instead? I chose Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi. So this one is like a, I think it's like a friends to lovers, slow burn type vibe. It says, what will you do with a second chance at your first time? Following a bad breakup, Willow Lewis tackles a redo list with the help of her brother's best friend in this sweet and sexy new romance. Now, I just read a brother's best friend romance, and it was not a vibe. It was not, it wasn't it. So like maybe I need to get this soon and like try it. Hopefully it'll be a cleanser. It could just be worse. You know, it's worth a shot. Anyway, Willow experienced all her big firsts with her high school sweetheart. Now she's reeling from their very public breakup and wants to get a redo on all her important moments. While dog sitting for her brother during his deployment, she has a chance to start over, and spending time with his best friend gives her the confidence to start checking items off her redo list. Now, this reminds me so much of Get a Life Chloe Brown and Chloe's Get a Life list, essentially. And then like Redford, why do I say it like that, starts helping her check off those goals and achieve those goals. So I know that's what drew me to this book, that it has a similar feel, except just adding in the brother's best friend trope as well. Stay tuned. This came out on the 27th, like I said. The last of the January books came, what? When did this come? Okay. Came out on the 27th as well. And it is on Sunday She Picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield. And this one is a like queer Southern Gothic like fantasy. In this sinister and surreal Southern Gothic debut, a woman escapes into the uncanny woods of southern Georgia and must contend with ghosts, haunts, and most dangerous of all, the truth about herself. When Judith Rice fled her childhood home, she thought she'd severed her abusive mother's hold on her. She didn't have a plan or destination, just a desperate need to escape. Drawn to the forests of southern Georgia, Jude finds shelter in a house as haunted by its violent oh my god, could you read? Jude finds shelter in a house as haunted by its violent history as she is by her own. Jude embraces the eccentricities eccentricities of the dilapidated house, soothing its ghosts and haunts, honoring its blood-soaked land. And over the next 13 years, Jude blossoms from her bitter beginnings into a wise woman, a healer. But her hard-won peace is threatened when an enigmatic woman shows up on her doorstep. The woman is beautiful but unsettling, captivating but uncanny. Ensnared by her desire for the stranger, Jude is caught off guard by brutal urges suddenly simmering beneath her skin. As the woman stirs up memories of her escape years ago, Jude must confront the cause of violence rooted in her bloodline. Haunting and thought-provoking, on Sunday she picked flowers explores retribution, family trauma, and the power of building oneself back up after breaking down. Yes. Alrighty, let's talk about some February books. Let's talk about the books that have come out this month. Well, all of them but 2 have already been released this month. The first is another book I saw in the bookstore the other day and I was very excited to see it, and it's by an author I discovered last year. I think that might have been her debut last year, so everyone did. Anyway, but I loved her other book, and it's Nightshade and Oak by Molly O'Neill, who is the author of Green Teeth. I loved Green Teeth so much. I got that book, I was drawn to that book, or became aware of that book kind of when I was preparing to do my Books with Hosier Vibes vlog, because first of all, the cover screams in the woods somewhere. It screams like a plethora of Hosier songs with creepy forest vibes, creepy environmental vibes. Not necessarily creepy, but like definitely like mythical nature vibes. And then the plot itself definitely fit into like the vibe. I didn't get around to reading it then, but I read it right after. I read it in April, and that one was like steeped in like English, British mythology. There was some like Arthurian legend woven within, and I really had a fun time with it. So this is Molly's next book, and it came out on February 3rd. And it says, an Iron Age goddess must grapple with becoming human in this delightful historical fantasy of myth and magic, from the author of the instant hit Green Teeth. When Malt, the goddess of death, is accidentally turned into a human by a wayward spell, she finds she is ill-equipped to deal with the trials of a mortal life. After all, why would a goddess need to know how to gather food or light a fire? Trapped in a body that's frustratingly feeble, she's forced to team up with Bellis, warrior daughter of Boudica, on a perilous journey across Roman-occupied Britain to the afterlife to try to restore her powers. As animosity turns to attraction, these two very different women must learn to work together if they are to have any hope of surviving their quest. And I remember Green Teeth was kind of like pitched as like a cozy fantasy, and while it is a lot lighter and a lot more, I still don't think whimsical is the right word, but I don't know if cozy, like when I think like a cozy, I don't know, maybe it is, I don't know, but it just feels like it toes the line, you know? So I wonder if this is going to be that same type of vibe, that same like sort of teetering between like cozy but also with like that sort of like adventure vein running heavily through it, or if it might be a shade darker. I mean, she is a goddess of death, and much like Green Teeth, it seems there's going to be a lot of like mythology woven in, not just British this time, but some Roman mythology, so that's exciting. This came out the 3rd. I need to get it ASAP. The next book is Where the Wildflowers Grow by Tara Shelton Harris, and this came out the day I was at the bookstore on the 17th, which was, what's today, Thursday? Tuesday. Sorry if you can hear that. I don't know why that's so loud all of a sudden. It says, Lee is the last of the wilds. She knows because she watched them all die. Grief never truly fades, and even as the tragedy haunts her, Lee carries on because survival is in her blood. So when the transport bus taking her to prison careens off the road, killing everyone on board except her, she does what's in her nature. She survives. While searching for a place to hide, Lee stumbles upon an unexpected sanctuary, a flower farm in rural Alabama, tucked away from the world. What Lee doesn't expect is the found family there, love a found family, who have built something from the wreckage of their own lives. Especially Jackson, the farm's owner, who sees through Lee's defenses, offers her small moments of tenderness, encourages her to face her own tragedies. Slowly, Lee finds peace with the hard pace and soft nature of the farm, taking comfort in the life blooming around her. Maybe she's not beyond redemption, not too broken for something good, and maybe, just maybe, Lee starts to heal. But the past isn't so easily buried. No matter how far she runs, the truth of who she is and the ghosts of the wilds follow. And when those secrets catch up to her, threatening everything she's come to love, Lee will have to truly face what she can survive. And I just love this concept of her like healing on this farm. I have said so many times that one of my dreams is to have a farm. I know how healing it would be. My mom and I have discussed this for me personally. So yeah. The next book is another fantasy romantasy. I have this author's, I believe it's her first book, and I've yet to read it, and I think I've put a few of her books on my TBRs for the year and just haven't done it. So it's The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin, who is the author of The Nature of Witches, which I've been putting off for so long. You know what? I've been making a list of what I call my TBR repeat offenders. I have to remember to add that because it's time to get around to that. I think I want to do like a thing where I make my way through that list. Anyway, this one, first of all, love the cover. I love the colors of this cover. It's like my favorite colors. There was once a village so far north that most considered it the top of the world. And in that village, the sun fell in love with her star maker. I feel like that's all I need to know. From the New York Times bestselling author of The Nature of Witches comes a whimsical and sweeping romantic fantasy. Nestled deep in the snowy mountains of Lost Range, the small village of Reverie endures on a miracle. Beyond the reach of the sun, Reverie is dependent upon the magic of the mysterious Star Maker. Every morning he trudges across the vast glacier and pulls in sunlight over the peaks, providing the village with the light it needs to survive. Aurora Finch grew up on tales of the Star Maker's magic, never imagining she'd one day meet him. But on the morning of her wedding, a fateful encounter in the frostbitten woods changes everything. The Star Maker senses a powerful magic within her and demands she come study under his guidance. With her newfound abilities tied to the survival of the village, Aurora is swept away to his ice-covered castle at the mountain's peak. The Star Maker is as cold and distant as the dark woods, leaving Aurora to explore his enchanted castle with only an immortal rabbit for company. I was just about to say it's giving a little bit of like Beauty and the Beast, but then she's got an immortal rabbit, so hello Alice in Wonderland. Yet the more she discovers about the sorcerer, the stronger their ruinous attraction grows. Pulling her closer to the secrets he refuses to share, a deadly frost approaches, and Aurora must uncover what the Star Maker is hiding before she is left in an endless winter that even the sun cannot touch. I just referenced Beauty and the Beast and Alice in Wonderland and just realized the main character's name is Aurora. I don't think that's intentional, but you know, whatever. That came out on the 17th as well. Okay, so we finally made it to the books that have not been released yet, but we're cutting close. So the next book is one of my most anticipated reads of the whole year. It is by one of my favorite romance authors, and it's And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. The first of two B.K. Borisons Borison books coming out this year. It's number 2 in the Heartstrings series, the first of which was First Time Caller, which I read last year, and it was, I mean, B.K. Borison has never steered me wrong. I say this all the time, in BK we trust. I'm going to read anything she puts out. First Time Caller followed Lucy and Aiden, and they were hosting this like relationship advice radio show. And now we are following Jackson and Delilah, who do the weather at this station, the radio station. Two competing meteorologists are forced to find common ground in this opposites attract when Harry Met Sally inspired romance. That's another thing about this series. They are all inspired by the Nora and Ephrons. The first one was Sleepless in Seattle. This one is When Harry Met Sally, and then the next one, which presumably comes out next year, will be You've Got Mail. So anyway, in this opposites attract when Harry Met Sally inspired romance, Jackson Clark and Delilah Stewart have had their fair share of run-ins over the years, often ending in disaster. While Jackson thrives on routine and organization from the comfort of his radio booth, Delilah loves the spontaneity and adventure out in the field. When they're partnered against their will to cover the snowstorm of the century, they find themselves scrambling to figure out how to work together. Eager to be taken seriously as a journalist, Delilah offers Jackson a deal. If he can help her ace this assignment, she'll help him rediscover his long-lost fun side. With an undiscovered chemistry burning beneath their clashes, the unlikely partnership quickly tumbles into an easy and surprising friendship. But when other feelings start to enter the equation, can Jackson and Delilah withstand the storm? Or does what happens in the mountains stay in the mountains? And I'm eager to know what happens in the mountains, my friends. So we've got like enemies to lovers, opposites attract with like super organized, rigid Jackson and chaotic Delilah. We've got forced proximity. We've got workplace romance. There's a snowstorm. I'm invested. And just from what I know of Jackson, what we've encountered and learned about Jackson from First Time Caller, I'm so interested to see his story and how this all plays out. And this comes out on the 24th. I already have it pre-ordered. I am anxiously waiting for my copy to arrive from East City Books. Oh, I'm excited. Okay. The last book coming out in February also comes out on the 24th, and it is a historical fantasy mythology retelling, and it's Cleopatra by Sarah L. Arifi, who is the author of the Ending Fire trilogy, as well as the Feybound books. Both series are on my series to start list. I have a problem. I know. I don't want to talk about it. So as the title implies, this is like a retelling of Cleopatra story. Queen legend Cleopatra tells her own story in this evocative and sensuous historical epic. Cleopatra, from the best-selling and award-winning author of Feybound. Oh, it says right there. You know my name, but you do not know me. Your historians call me seductress, but I was always in love's thrall. Your playwrights speak of my witchcraft, but I was gifted my talents by the gods. Your poets sing of my bloodlust, but I was protecting my children. They cannot credit that a mere woman could be powerful, strategic, divinely blessed to rule. Death will silence me no longer. This is not the story of how I died, but how I lived. So this is very much for my girlies who love Cersei. This is for my girlies who loved Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. So I'm really excited to read this story. I know I said I need to read Sarah's other books, but I might have to bump this up. I don't know. And that came out on, or comes out, sorry, on the 24th. So in a few days, I'm going to need to make another trip to the bookstore. And I've already done some damage at the bookstore this week. Right, so the next 5 books are all coming out in March. The first of which is When I Was Death by Alexis Henderson, author of Year of the Witching and what is that book called? Year of the Witching and House of Hunger, as well as that dark academia book I can't remember the name of right now, despite the fact that I just looked at it, but I haven't read that one yet. So anyway, a group of teen girls does death incarnate's bidding in this haunting speculative young adult novel. Rosalind Volk isn't herself anymore. It's been a year since her sister Adeline died in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and Rosalind is still tormented by her absence. So, when the elusive caravan of girls that Adeline spent her last summer with rolls back into town, Rosalind joins them to finally figure out what happened to her sister. Strange, beautiful, and intriguing, the girls are closed off from the world. And as it turns off, they're brought together by a force more sinister than Rosalind's nightmares could have conjured. Death himself. Death has spared the girls from untimely endings, and to pay for their lives, the girls travel the country reaping souls on his behalf. Now, Rosalind must decide if finding closure is worth the price of striking the same deal. This feels sort of like The Craft. Thank you. And The Craft is one of my favorite movies. So I'm hoping that I'm right and that those are the vibes that are here. And this book comes out on March 10th. And you can bet your bottom dollar that I will, be reading it as soon as possible. I love The Year of the Witching so much. I really enjoyed the other one. Oh, House of Hunger, right? That's what the book is called, right? And The Dark Academia, that I still can't remember, is on my list. Might make it to my repeat offender list as well. I should probably be writing these down because I am going to forget as soon as I move on. It's okay. Okay, the next book is by an author I have been meaning to read for a long time. It's You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews, who is the author of Hazelthorne and You Let the Forest In, Don't Let the Forest In. Both are books I really, really want to read very soon. I believe this is this author's adult debut. The other two are YA books. And this is supposed to be like a gothic horror, maybe thriller. It says a relentless horror-inducing psychological suspense for fans of The Push and Baby Teeth. Ooh. I love Baby Teeth. I haven't read it in a really long time, and maybe I should reread it at some point, but that was a book, and it was very disturbing. Anyway, single mother Elodie's life has become a fairy tale. She's met Bryn, equal parts golden retriever, devoted and sinfully handsome. He's whisked her and her autistic son Jude to the crumbling family house he's renovating. She has a new husband, a new house, and a new baby on the way. Everything is perfect. Then Jude claims he can hear voices in the walls. He says their renovations are hurting the house. Even Elodie can't ignore it. Something strange is going on. The question is it with the house or with her son? Could be both. Why not both? Then the one secret Elodie has been hiding is revealed, and no one is safe anymore. So the problem's with you. So you're the problem. A pulse-pounding clever take on the haunted house novel, You Did Nothing Wrong examines the complexities of motherhood and the twisted bonds of family as it races to its shocking ending. And every time I read one of these little books that's like examines the complexities of motherhood, I'm more and more resolved in the fact that that's not for me. That's not my ministry. I'm good, because it's always something crazy going on with these kids, and I'm just like, I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me, because like, you know that meme where you're like punting the child? Yeah. I'm still thinking about Baby Teeth, because that, yeah. Anyway, that book comes out on March 17th. Also unrelated, but I do really like the name Elodie. Fantastic. Okay, so the next book is Seasons of Glass and Iron, which is a collection of short stories by Amal El Motar. It says, full glimpses into gleaming worlds and fairy tales with teeth. Seasons of Glass and Stories is a collection of acclaimed and awarded work from Amal El Motar. With confidence and style, El Motar guides us through exquisitely told and sharply observed tales about life as it is, was, and could be. Like miscellany from other worlds, these stories are told in letters, diary entries, reference materials, folk tales, and lyrical prose. That's all it really says. And this is also the author of The River Has Roots, which I forgot about that book. I wanted to read that a while ago. As well as This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I've heard a lot about. Not a lot, I don't really know what the book's about, but I've heard a lot of people praising that book. And that comes out on March 24th, which is also the day of the Hannah Montana special. Another book coming out on March 24th is Honeysuckle by Bar Fridman Tell. The Bear and the Nightingale meets Wayward in this enchanting, deeply compelling debut about love and power, autonomy and consent. Those are both books that I also really need to get around to. Also, TBR repeat offenders. Once upon a time, on the edge between meadow and forest, there was a lonely child with only his older sister for company. In exchange for being left in peace, his sister made him a playmate, Day, a girl woven from flowers and words. And for the first time, this boy Rory had a friend. Rory couldn't be happier until he learns that Day is a short-lived creature. At the end of each season, she must be woven back together or fall gruesomely apart, and every time Day falls apart might be her last. As Rory and Day grow older and the line between friendship and romance begins to blur, Rory becomes desperate to break this cycle of bloom and decay. But the farther Rory pushes his research and experiments to lengthen Day's existence, the more Day begins to wonder just how much control she really has over her own life. As a loose reimagining of the story of Blodeuwedd from Welsh mythology, Honeysuckle is an entrancing, inventive, and unsettling debut. I'm here for it. That sounds like creepy and also, I don't know, it sounds like it's very different from anything else I've read. So I hope it's good. Also, I love Honeysuckle. I'm not gonna lie and pretend that's not part of the reason that I looked into this book in the first place. It's one of my favorite scents in the whole world. Oh, okay, interesting. So the next book I'm going to talk about has been pushed, so I'm not going to talk about rewind. The book I was about to talk about has been pushed, so I'm going to talk about it a little later. I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to have to try to remember to change that in my reading journal. I'm sure you can hear that now. That's great. Okay, so I have 2 books coming out in April. The first one is Wife-Shaped Bodies by Laura Cranehill, which is coming out on April 14th. This cover is deliciously unsettling. This is Laura's debut. It is a literary horror in which an isolated newlywed covered in mushroom growths, like all the other wives in her community, strikes a precarious balance between following her husband's strict rules and pursuing an intense connection with a woman who makes her question everything. First of all, after the reading year I had last year, where not 1 but 2 books used my love of mushrooms against me and rooted itself in my brain, and truthfully that's probably why I was like, yeah, add this to the list, because if I'm gonna read a horror book, if I'm gonna read something creepy, I want to be creeped out and uncomfortable. And I've discovered that mushrooms and fungus and spores and growths, when described the way that they are, I'm talking about T. Kingfisher's book and Mexican Gothic. Anyway, forbidden from leaving her house from girlhood until marriage. Ooh, Nicole has only her mother's lessons and what she can see from her bedroom window to draw on, informing her view of the world and of herself. Taught that the mushrooms which cover the women in her village are repulsive and dangerous, she conforms to a rigid set of rules to protect herself and those around her. When her wedding day arrives, Nicole moves from one prison to another, an empty mansion on the very outskirts of town belonging to the husband she's been promised to since birth. And she haunts the edges of Silas's unknowable life and decaying home. Maintaining control over her own transforming body becomes increasingly impossible, and when another wife, with rebellious tendencies, pays Nicole an unexpected visit, something within her cracks open. I know something else she's trying to crack open. Their furtive explorations yield confusing answers, unearthing the long-buried secrets of the generations of resentful brides that came before. Unmoored and angry, and at last awakened, Nicole must reckon with who she really is, and perhaps give in to what she truly wants. Raw, visceral, and relentless, Wife-Shaped Bodies is an exploration of gender, power, and community through the lens of mycological body horror, and an ode to the unsettling beauty of the natural world. This also feels very much like Comfort Me in Apples, and I am very excited to read this book. I need April to hurry up. Like I said, this comes out on April 14th. The next April book also comes out on April 14th, and this is another one of my most anticipated books, and it is another contemporary romance, and it's by an author I've come to love, and it's The Art of Loving You by Natasha Bishop. This is the second in the Forever Fallen series, the first of which being Only for the Weak, which I absolutely adore. I love that book so much. Oh my goodness. And this one is following Danny and Micah, who are from Rome and Janelle's friend group, and from seeing like their interactions in that book to now having their own story, I'm so invested already, because just like the little crumbs, it's enough to be like, okay, what is it with them? What is going on with them? But this one features an intimate bucket list road trip. Love it. Another one with a bucket list. Sexy banter and a sweet and spicy second chance romance. Also a thing I've really been into at the moment. I said it before in the past video that it's possibly because what I have been working on, and I ripped to that project for the time being, is a sort of second chance romance. That's what I'm drawn to a lot of the time. If you're reading this, I'm dead. What a way to start. Danny Jenkins is a boss, a model turned influencer. She doesn't have time for taking a risk on romance. She prefers to keep things casual, but when her mentor Tanya dies, she is brought face to face with the man who broke her heart. Danny and Micah had their chance at love. Artist Micah Wright is a protector who loves fiercely. He's known as the man everyone can count on, but he's never forgiven himself for letting down the woman he loves. With Tanya's dying wish forcing Danny and Micah back together to complete a scavenger hunt road trip, Micah sees a second chance for them to get things right. Does time heal all wounds? Tensions are high as their undeniable connection reignites, but Danny refuses to let her guard down. As they continue their journey, Micah is determined to prove to Danny that love is worth fighting for, but can she release her fears and relearn the art of loving? Exactly. So the tropes listed: friends to lovers, he falls first, yummy. Second chance, black joy, yummy. Forced proximity, right person, wrong time. Fling to forever, yummy. Also, what I'm writing at the moment, or what I should be writing, what I'm supposed to be writing right now. And that comes out April 14th, and I actually need to pre-order that. Okay, so next we have The Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. I love Fonda. I absolutely love the Greenbone saga, particularly Jade War. I said it before, if I had a nickel every time that I fell in love with the second book in a trilogy with a red cover, I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird, it's happened twice, right? So this is a standalone space opera. It says, where corporate samurai fight beneath merciless stars and death is always a mere breath away. Huh? Isako is a legendary swordswoman, but every legend has come to an Isako is a legendary swordswoman, but every legend has come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow. To walk out into the frozen wasteland of their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her legacy. What does that mean? Like to die? But when a competitor offers her a final mission, it's one she can't refuse. Soon she's thrust deep into a world of corporate espionage, duty-bound duels, and shadowy secrets. What she uncovers will change humanity's existence in the stars forever. And that comes out May 5th. Also on May 5th is The Girl with a Thousand Faces by Suni Dean. Look at this cover. This is a horror, a historical fiction, horror fantasy. Oh, this is by the author of The Book Eaters. I haven't read that book, but it has been on my radar for a while. It says, The Girl with a Thousand Faces, a gothic tale set in historical Hong Kong that meshes ancient myths and local legends into a haunting story of ghosts, grief, and women who will not forgive. Hello. When Mercy Chan washed up on the shores of Hong Kong with no family, no money, and no memories, she was thrust into the horrors of World War II. She only survived by hiding in Kowloon Walled City, an infamous, ghost-infested slum full of lost and traumatized civilians. Since the end of the war, she has rebuilt her life and found work with the local triad as a ghost talker. Okay. Dealing with the angry and bitter spirits who haunt this place. These days the filthy gutters and cramped alleyways of Kowloon feel like home. But the past she can't remember won't let her go. An unusually powerful ghost has infested Kowloon's waterways, drowning innocents and threatening the district. Unnervingly, it claims to know Mercy in her forgotten childhood. As Mercy is drawn into a deadly cat-and-mouse game with this malignant spirit, she begins to realize that the monster she fights within these walls may well be one of her own making. That's what I was about to say. Is this like supposed to be like a manifestation of her grief? 33 years before, mere days ahead of the Japanese invasion, Sung Soo Yin and her mother flee Hong Kong, intending to hide out on her mother's ancestral island home. It's beautiful, tranquil, and remote, but also inhabited by ghosts, ever since the entire village drowned in a storm many years ago. Still, it's better than living under occupation. But as the war drags on and isolation sets in, Soo Yin is increasingly drawn into the island's grim past, a past that may still have hold on the present. There is a dark lurking beneath that idyllic ocean, and it has been waiting many years for someone to return. Alright, yeah. And once again, that comes out on May 5th. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Tradwife, right? And in my book, and the book I'm going to talk about comes out on May 14th, it is by Sarah Langan. Now, when I was pulling this book up, I realized that 2 books in 2026 came out or are coming out named Tradwife. And I also realized that the one I'm anticipating is by Saratoga Schaefer. First of all, what a fun name. So I'm going to tell you about both of them. And we're just going to move on. I'm going to try to remember to fix this in my journal later. So, Tradwife by Sarah Langan, which comes out on May 14th. It says, your favorite influencer is about to be exposed. A deliciously sinister new novel from 3-time Bram Stoker Award winner Sarah Langan. Every day, millions watch Mia write, the Tradwife Queen, on her idyllic 300-acre farm with her handsome husband, seven perfect children, and a life from scratch meals and pastoral bliss. She's an icon of modern femininity. But behind every perfect image is a secret, and in this case, the secret is a horror. Desperate to save her tarnished career, journalist Jenny Kaplan arrives at Black Swan Farm to profile Mia. Jenny is ready to write a scathing expose determined to expose the deception behind Mia's curated life. But soon, Jenny has more to contend with than staged videos and picture-perfect poses. There's something wrong at the farmhouse. Something slithers through Jenny's dreams, and at night, the children sing strange nursery rhymes. She's losing time. She's losing her hair. She starts to worry that she's losing her mind. I thought that was the nursery rhyme, so that's why I kind of was like sing-songing it. But that's not. Okay. There's a horror at the heart of Black Swan, and it's waiting just for Jenny. Tradwife will make you question what's real and what's just a perfectly curated deception. Will you see the lie? And it was blurbed by Gillian Flynn, author of Gone Girl. I haven't read it, haven't seen the movie, so I'm really sorry that that's really loud. Okay, and then we have Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. This book came out on the 10th of this month. This is the one I thought I was putting on this list. A traditional wife influencer allows a demonic creature to impregnate her. In this unnerving horror novel, every tradwife needs a baby. She'll get one at any cost. When Camille Deming isn't cooking, cleaning, or homesteading in her picture-perfect country farmhouse, she's posting about her tradwife lifestyle for her online followers. She takes inspiration from other tradwives on social media, aspiring to be like them, but Camille's missing a key component: a baby. And contrary to what she posts online, things with her husband Graham have been strained. Pressured by her eager followers, Camille fears that without a baby, her relationship will suffer and her social media will never grow out of its infancy. When Camille discovers a mysterious decrepit well in the wheat field behind her house, she makes a wish for a baby. Afterwards, she has unsettling experiences that she convinces herself are angelic in nature, and when she's visited one night by a strange creature, her wish comes true. Camille's pregnancy announcement gets more engagement than anything she's ever posted. So what if Graham's reaction is lukewarm? Camille's life is finally falling into place. Never mind that her pregnancy is developing freakishly rapidly. Okay, Bella. And she's suddenly craving raw meat. Okay, Bella. Being a traditional wife is worth it. Rosemary's Baby for the digital age. This disturbing horror novel is one you'll want to devour in just one bite. And I was about to say, this gives such strong Rosemary's Baby vibes, and that is one of my favorite movies. I don't know, unfortunately, that is one of my comfort films. And I say unfortunately because every time I say that, my mom looks at me like how do we up your medication? But this sounds like it's gonna be so good. This sounds like it's gonna be so good, and I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I haven't been duped by just a solid synopsis, a solid pitch. Also, I hate what tradwife, that whole softly packaged white supremacy has done to like the concept of, you know, like the homesteading, the farming, the making your own, growing your own food, making your own things, just like living off the land, and like that so slow soft living, because like that's my ideal lifestyle, but it's been tainted, and I just I can't have anything. I can't have anything. Yes, I could just live my life. Also, I don't have the means to just disappear off the face of the planet and just live in the country. Okay, I have one last May book that I almost skipped. It's The Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty, which is the second Amina Al-Sarafi book. And that comes out May 12th. Amina Al-Sarafi is this like sweeping pirate fantasy following like this woman who was a former pirate, a retired pirate, who basically gets swept back into the lifestyle. It's something to do with her daughter, I believe. She has to get the gang back together, and like all these like middle-aged people back on the sea, and it was such a fun like adventure, and I really enjoyed that book. And this is the sequel. I'm probably gonna have to reread the first book or listen to the audiobook before I go into this, because I know it's just like a lot to have to remember, and I want all the details. I want to be fully immersed in the world when I go into book 2, and this comes out May 12th. Okay, I only have listed one book that's coming out in June, and it's The Secret World of Briar Rose by Cindy Pham. Reads with Cindy! And I cannot get over this cover. I got an arc from Penguin Teen, thank you very much, that I still need to read, but I just can't wait to have the actual like finished copy in my hands. This is a lush like queer Sleeping Beauty retelling, my camera's flashing, about escaping grief and dreaming of a better world. Let's see if I can do this. 100 years have passed since the last heir of Gildan fell into eternal slumber and doomed the once mighty kingdom into poverty and invasion. At least that's what the fairy tales claim. Corin is a jaded thief who doesn't believe in fables, even when she searches Gildan's underground tunnels to find her younger sister Ellie, who ran away to find the sleeping princess in hopes of a better life. Corin's conviction is challenged when she discovers the ruins of the ancient castle, maintained by beings from the kingdom's golden age who protect a hidden portal into Princess Amelia's subconscious. Following Ellie's voice, Corin jumps in the portal and seals the entry behind her. Inside the lush world of Amelia's dreams, the sisters reunite for a new adventure as they meet Briar Rose, Amelia's whimsical alter ego, and Malicene, a sharp-tongued demon with a gift for magic. But as they explore ice castles, sunflower mazes, and star-filled oceans, Corin suspects Briar Rose is hiding darker secrets behind her perfect paradise, and that there are some things their subconscious can't bury forever. And I'm so excited to read this book. I remember when Cindy was just starting the process of this book. I remember when Cindy first started her YouTube channel. So I feel like I've personally been on this journey, and I just can't wait to see like the fruits of all that labor. And that is coming out on June 2nd. Happy Pride. In July, this is the book I thought was coming out in March, but I didn't realize the date had been moved. The Brides by Charlotte Cross comes out on the 7th of July. And this is like a Brides of Dracula story, a la A Dowry Blood by S.T. Gibson, which I love. It says, before Dracula, there were the brides. 1903, Sir John Stewart, survivor of Count Dracula's murderous campaign 10 years before, takes up a post as a psychiatric doctor at an Oxford public asylum. There, a new patient arrives whose traumatic experiences resurrect horrors John has spent a decade trying to forget. 1884, Mafalda Lowell journeys from London to Budapest to care for her recently widowed Aunt Rika. She uncovers the chilling truth about her uncle's death and writes to her secret love, Lucy North, for comfort. Come on, girlies. Chaperoned by former school friend Eliza and lady's maid Alice, Lucy travels across the continent to be with her beloved. Only Alice, beset by nightmares and terrifying visions, notices the strange black-clad man who seems to follow them wherever they go. When Eliza is struck down with mysterious wasting illness, her doctor orders her to take the healing waters of Transylvania, a journey with devastating consequences. Is it blood? Are we drinking blood? There was meant to be four. Dual timeline novel told through letters, diary entries, psychiatric reports that places women at the center of literature's most famous vampire story. We love to see it. And did I say that it comes out on the 7th? If I'm rushing, it's because my battery is flashing, and I am rushing. The next book, okay, so I'm back. My battery just died, so I just took a little break. In the meantime, I had dinner. I read some of Moby Dick. Where were we? So we were talking about books coming out in July. Okay, so the next book, I had to find the synopsis elsewhere because, oh, there is no like full synopsis out yet. I absolutely adore this cover, and I can't wait to read the story of these gorgeous melanated baddies falling in love. And it's The Case of Elmwood Ranch by Deanna Gray. First of all, this cover, the fall vibes, these stunning black girlies, the outfits, the fits are fitting. This outfit on the right, yeah, absolutely. So from what I've gathered, this is going to be a fall autumnal romance, and all it says, a legacy paranormal investigator, loner horse rancher in a haunted house. And that comes out oh wait, no, yeah, okay, right, and that comes out on July 15th. Hopefully soon we will have more of a synopsis, but I feel like that's enough for me. We got the paranormal investigation for the paranormal loving heart. We've got a lone horse rancher, so it has like that sort of like almost like farmy vibes in a haunted house. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next book is The Winter Folk by Jen Julian. I'm so intrigued by this cover. It's giving sort of like unsettling eco nature horror type vibes. It's apparently a gothic horror. Sorry. A woman returns to the mysterious lodge in the woods where she once worked, and to the inscrutable creature that bound her there. In this haunting Appalachian gothic horror from Singular Voice, Jen Julian, perfect for fans of Alex E. Harrow and T. Kingfisher. And I was already talking about what T. Kingfisher did to me in 2025. I fully intend to finish with that series. I still can't remember what that book's called. Okay. This is the story of Moth, who earned her name working for the Winterfolk. Every year, the Winterfolk gather at a secret lodge in the Appalachians, a place known as Deer Haven, refuge for the time-worn and weary. As a child, Moth heard warnings from her mother. They are heartless, wild creatures, and they got no concern. They got no concern of us. At 21, Moth is a college dropout, indebted, impoverished, and desperate for better things. She falls instantly for Deer Haven's beautiful antlered host, the mild-mannered Mr. Oslin. When he offers her a housekeeper's contract, one wish granted for a winter of service, she signs without question. But Deer Haven is a dangerous place. Staff must follow strict rules or else face dire consequences, and the guests can be unpredictable and savage. And yet, Moth endures, enticed by a rumor that Mr. Oslin is looking for a protege, a singular worker who would stay with him forever and be transformed. Decades later, Moth returns to Appalachia with her husband and teenage daughter. She can't shake the feeling that she needs to return to Deer Haven, which banished her 20 years ago. Why? As she hunts for a way in, her haunting memories and harrowing experiences come roaring back. Her friends and rivals, her growing obsession with Mr. Oslin, and her mysterious exile. A door exists in the dark of the woods. After so long away, what has Deer Haven become? And just the line about she is Deer Haven's beautiful antlered host, that made me think of Necrology by is it Meg Ripley? I could be making that up. That book comes out on July 21st. We love a bit of Appalachian horror. On July 30th, we have Hannah Kaner's new book. Hannah Kaner is the author of the God Killer series. I still have to finish that trilogy. I read the first two, God Killer and Sunbringer, and one of my priorities this year is to finish that trilogy, read Faithbreaker, wrap it all up in time for Hannah's new series. The first of which is A Snake Among Swans. And at least I think it's a series. I'm pretty sure she said it's a new series. But A Snake Among... I don't know what's happened since I've eaten, but I can't speak. A Snake Among... oh my god! A Snake Among Swans, which is a dark and propulsive new epic fantasy from the #1 Sunday Times bestselling author of the Fallen Gods trilogy. An intricate tale of warring kingdoms, female rage, and a wild magic that refuses to be tamed. Can't be tamed. Death is come to take you home, death of blood and thorn and bone. Tilda has always heard the whispers of the Kithwood, the voices of her ancestors speaking through the mysterious forest of her homeland. But now both the Kithwood and her kingdom are in danger, for Tilda is the only surviving heir of a conquered land. To unite the people and finally stop the bloodshed, she marries the aging warlord King Lirin. Her duty is to bind their nations and bear him a son. Ew. But the Swan King's court is dangerous. Tilde is a threat to the claim of Lirin's older sons, who will do whatever it takes to remove her. To the Princess Elise, who has only ever known loyalty to her family, and to the priests who own them all. Yet none of them know that Tilda is a snake in their midst, with allies on her side and dark forbidden power of her own. Oh, we love to see it. She wants her kingdom back, and she will sacrifice everything to claim it. For the king to rise, the swans must fall. Yeah. That comes out on July 30th. The final cover has not been revealed yet, so I'm kind of antsy to see that. I've loved the God Killer covers. That's part of what drew me to the series in the first place. Do you mind? That's part of what drew me to the series in the first place. So stay tuned, I suppose. Okay, 4 more. These are the last 4. The first one comes out on August 4th, and it's Meat Bees by Dane Urbach. I don't remember what this book's about, but Meat Bees. Also this cover. I don't want to look at it. Oh, okay. Ooh, there's a rating right now. Still gonna read it for myself. Still want it for the cover. But this is a horror. I feel like you could have put that together on your own. Jaws with wasps is how it's described. Sure. By the time Scarlett Sutton arrives at her dad's cabin in the Smoky Mountains, 2 locals have already been eaten alive by wasps. Of course, she doesn't know this yet. All Scarlett knows is her mom finally checked herself into a hospital to take care of her mental health, leaving Scarlett alone with her dad all summer. So I believe this is a YA, perhaps? After he insists that she gets a job, Scarlett accepts a position at nearby Stovetop Outfitters, hoping to spend as much time away from him as possible. She doesn't expect to trip over a skeletonized corpse beneath the zip line during one of her shifts, and definitely doesn't expect to be thrown into a Netflix-style true crime investigation. The local sheriff's department is so overwhelmed by these unsolved deaths that when one of the Stovetop Outfitters employees disappears next, Scarlett and her co-workers set out to find him on their own. They discover something much more horrifying, a swarm of yellow jackets stripping the meat off of his body. Yikes. Scarlett never signed up to solve a disgusting mystery, but in order to protect her friends and family, she must defeat the mountain's darkness and all these godforsaken wasps. And then, I thought this was the, okay, sure. All right, and then on September 8th is Spiritu by Aiden Thomas, which is the second Cemetery Boys. The long-awaited sequel to Cemetery Boys is going to be released, and I'm very, very excited. I loved Cemetery Boys. I've heard very few people not say they loved Cemetery Boys, truthfully, that have read it. Okay, I almost read the synopsis of this book, but that would spoil so much of the first book. Cemetery Boys follows Yadriel, who is a trans brujo, I believe, and has essentially summoned a ghost and can't get rid of him. Said ghost is Julian Diaz, who they kind of team up to discover his death, or discovered what happened and led to his death, and how that ties to, I believe, another family member's death. I feel like I just made all of that up, but I really enjoy it. Maybe I need to reread Cemetery Boys first. September 15th, my birth month. What a gift we are getting. I personally am getting Grim Tidings, the second of 2 B.K. Borison books being released in 2026. Grim Tidings is the second in the Ghosted, I feel like that's what it's called, Ghosted series. The first of which is Good Spirits, which was, I think it was like last book, one of the last books I read in 2025, and oh my god, this is bold, this is a big statement, my favorite B.K. Borison book yet. I think that's her best book so far. I'm so sorry to In the Weeds. I love you, girl. You're still right there. You're still right there. Forever in my heart. So where Good Spirits followed a ghost of Christmas past and his assignment, who is anything but a Scrooge, and their seemingly impossible romance and just like finding each other. They're 2 very lonely people. Did I mention that it's a paranormal romance? I guess you put that together with the Ghost of Christmas Past thing. So all of these are paranormal romances. This one follows a Grim Reaper on the run and a guardian angel, I believe. Yeah, it says, when a runaway Grim Reaper tries to save a life, she clashes with a skeptical guardian, forcing them to form an unlikely partnership beyond the grave. Darcy Moore is tired of death, which would be fine and good if she wasn't a Grim Reaper. Determined to outrun her designation as the villain, Darcy decides she won't be dragging her next assignment to the underworld. She'll be saving him instead. Unfortunately for Darcy, there's a complication in her plan. Guardian angel Gabriel Atos doesn't tolerate threats to his little corner of the world, and a Grim Reaper showing up at his bar is as deadly as it gets. But when he realizes Darcy is not as she seems, Gabriel must decide if he can trust his growing feelings or hold on to his long-standing grudge. But magic doesn't come without consequences, and the Department of Hauntings and Spirits will eventually come calling for their missing Reaper. A spooky yet simmering enemies to lovers tale to keep you warm this fall. So the tropes we've got: enemies to lovers, angel and Reaper, grumpy and grumpy. Okay, I'm here for that. Guy who likes everyone except her. This is death, but make it corporate. Star-crossed lovers, changing your fate. These are also holiday romances. I'm not sure if this one is also a Christmas romance or like what the vibe is, because the other one is very clearly a Christmas romance, but I guess we'll see. It might not be holiday. It might just be listed under holiday because the first one is. But yeah, the cover just dropped recently. Love it. And it's gonna look so nice next to Good Spirits. It's my favorite. Purple is my favorite color. I'm so excited. I'm nervous as well because I felt so much while reading Good Spirits. Like I don't think I've ever like fully boohoo cried over a contemporary, it's not contemporary, but it is sort of contemporary, over a romance book before. But Nolan and Harriet really hit too close to home. I'm gonna be so real with you. So I have a lot of expectations going into this book, and I just hope it lives up to them. Oh, but what I was saying was confusing. It's because at the top up here it says expected September 15th, and I'm like, I know that's not what I wrote down. What I wrote down was September. Oh, now I'm losing my mind. Okay, it says it like twice. It says September 15th, but up here it also says September 1st. So in September we are getting grim tidings. September 16th, so everybody's wrong. Same could possibly go for Espiritu. I'm going to try to make a point to double check that that release date. Okay, and the last one is another contemporary romance by an author that's still relatively new to me. It's Love Felt Like This by Julia Olivia. Now, Julia Olivia is the author of If It Makes You Happy, If It Makes You Happy, which I read last fall. Absolutely adored, absolutely fell in love with. It took me by such surprise how much I loved that book. So much that like I don't usually annotate romances, and I didn't annotate this book, and I spent the whole book regretting it, and like I said, I'm gonna have to immediately reread it and like so I can annotate it and write down the thoughts and like even like just like the doodles and just anything that the things I was feeling. I love me some Clifford Burke. Oh boy, we're not talking about that book right now. Anyway, this one follows a grumpy rock star and a joyful children's show creator. It says a grumpy rock star and a joyful children's show creator revive television magic in this cozy small town romance. Griffin Harvey lives his life in the spotlight reluctantly. The brooding famous singer-songwriter is on the cusp of composing his sophomore album. If only he could find the notes. But after gaining custody of his 2-year-old daughter, the only music he's writing is about shapes and counting to 10. Now, Miss Julie loves a single father in her books, and honestly, I'm starting to love a single father in the books I'm consuming. Give it to me, yummy. Enter Beverly, who lives her life in the background producing children's television and laughter. Except joy is hard to find when her non-profit loses funding. PBS Kids. She sinks all of her savings to revive the children's show by herself, but when her variety show appearance collides with Griffin's, their banter and chemistry is caught on live television. Suddenly, Griffin is singing a new tune. He needs a muse and Beverly needs all the help she can get. With his secret daughter in tow, they hide out in her cozy mountain hometown, attempting to script, compose, and revive television magic. Their dynamic shouldn't work. He's all harsh tattoos and rough hands, while she's bright colors and gentle touches. Once their 3 months of work are done, that is the same timeline of If It Makes You Happy, they'll return to their separate worlds. But what happens when it seems the true magic might be found in each other? So this looks like 480 pages, Julie. See, this is my thing. Romance books should not be that long. They don't need to be that long. Now, I enjoyed If It Makes You Happy. I did appreciate the length because we were really able to build on their relationship. We were really able to see the actual growth and depth and development of their relationship. But let's not make this a habit. 500 pages in a contemporary romance? For why? It better be worth it. I'm going to get it regardless, but it better be worth it, Jules. I'm not gonna lie to you, the cover dropped, I think today or yesterday. Is that supposed to be Hosier and Taylor Swift? I saw someone pointed out that this is like the outfit Taylor was wearing in one of her music videos. I'm not sure. I don't know, but this man does look like Hosier if Hosier had tattoos. Also giving long Prince Harry styles, especially with the tattoos. So those are the 29 books that I am most anticipating this year, or I was most anticipating going into the start of 2026. Just really quick, rapid fire, a few books that I'm so excited about that I've since learned about and just feel like I'm very important to shout out for me personally. Ooh, Zulfika 2 has a new book coming out finally. As Long as the Lemon Trees Grows shattered me. It was beautiful, it was heartbreaking, it was stunning, it was everything. Oh my god. And I have been impatiently waiting for Zulfa's next book, and it's coming out June 4th. And it's The Ocean Would Paint Me Blue. Joss Richard, who wrote that other fall book that I read last year, has her next book. That was her debut novel. It's different this time, that's what that's called. Her next book comes out on August 11th and it's called Let's Kiss and Tell. Isabel Kanyas has a YA coming out in September. I've not read any Isabel Kanyas yet, but I do plan to this year. The Mockingjay Illustrated Edition drops October 6th. Katie Robert has a new series starting, The Tarot Trials. It's a fantasy. It comes out on October 20th. I don't know when the book's coming out. I don't think the release date or anything's been dropped, but Tananarive Due has a new book coming out in 2026. And I'm ready. I'm not ready. The Reformatory, I haven't recovered, and I plan to read The Good House this year. I'm not ready. So now, those are the books that I am anticipating in 2026. Don't have enough brain power or space on my TBR for all of these books, but I'm excited nonetheless. Let me know what books you are most looking forward to this year, as if I need to keep adding to this list. If you made it this far, you are truly the MVP. I talked for so much longer than I wanted to. Very sorry, but thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All of my places are down below so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.